And then probably you need to push this button to... no, it came on. Hello and welcome to My Man the Maker. We have a roadside find here. Looks like a 42-inch Samsung something or other. And I'm wondering why it's here, so I'm very keen to see if it is worth rescuing. So we're going to go grab it and we are going to figure out what the heck it is. Okay, we lug this thing back to the bamboo house, and now the big question is what the heck to do with it. We've got a plasma Samsung TV. Let's have a look at the plate on the back. This thing weighs a ton. Might be broken. Might have a cracked screen. Or is that a scratch? It is a Samsung Plasma Display PS42S6H. So it's a 42-inch plasma. We actually used to have a Panasonic in a similar size way back when we first got a TV here in Hong Kong. It weighed 102 pounds and it was a 42. So maybe this one, I don't think it weighs 100 pounds because I was able to muscle it around by myself, but it's not light. And we're going to have a look at it tomorrow when it's a little more bright, and I'll do some research this evening. So maybe I'll just take a quick shot of that back there. That's one. And two. And we'll see what we got online in terms of what the heck this TV is all about. Might have a broken screen. Which may be its major problem. We'll find out. Well, it's the next day, and I've done a little bit of research on this Samsung television. It's a plasma. I'll talk a little bit about what plasma means soon. A few things I found out are that it weighs 44 kilograms, which is about 96 pounds, so it's super heavy. The other thing I found out is that it's a 720p display, which means that it is 0.5K. 1K. Yeah, 1K. So it's a 1K television as opposed to 2K, 4K, and 8K. So or is it? Yeah, it's a 1K. 2K is 1080p. And 4K is double 1080p. So what we're looking at here is VGA, well, was it UHD? USVGA, some standard. Essentially, it can do 1024 by 768. So that's the resolution of this thing. So it's like a very large computer monitor in terms of resolution. Displays movies just fine. Now, the reason why plasmas are, in some sense of the word, a superior technology is because they have an extremely high contrast ratio, which means that black is black and white is white. And that's the reason why I had a plasma TV for a long time until I moved back to Canada, and it was just pointless to ship it because that thing weighed 120 pounds. It was about the same size as this, but it was a Panasonic. So long story short, if you're really a visual-phile, I guess you could call it, if you're really into a crisp and high definition, high contrast film cinematic experience, you could you couldn't go better than with a plasma, and that was its claim to fame. It was incredibly energy inefficient. So this beast chews up a lot of energy. It's super heavy, but it provides a cinematic experience that LED TVs still struggle to deliver, because they just can't deliver the blacks that the plasma does, and that's because LED has a backlight, and that backlight bleeds over and through the turned off pixels. So the image is a bit washed out in a low quality LCD screen. Although, you know, that's really improving, I would say. It's improving tremendously. And I have a feeling that within a few years, plasma is just going to be sort of like a Betamax of display technologies. It's superior in some ways, but just a little too expensive, too heavy. It's really tough to mount these things on a wall. So, I mean, anyways, enough talk. It's a 44-pound machine. It's a 720p display, and it weighs 100 pounds. That's basically the bottom line. I did plug it in. Let's do that. So we'll just plug this puppy in and see what happens. So you plug it in, there's a big click. That's a good thing. And then probably you need to push this button to... no, it came on. So as you can see, we got HDMI stereo. And then it's going to say check signal cable. So there doesn't seem to be any problems with the display. In other words, the glass is not broken, which was my fear last night, is that it had broken. So what is wrong with this thing? Well, as it turns out, what's wrong with this thing is, well, there's two things wrong with it. The first thing is it's really old. So it doesn't do 4K. It doesn't even do 2K, right? It doesn't do HD. It does, well, it does HD. It doesn't do UHD, which is 1080p. So it's kind of dated. And the other problem with it, as it turned out, is that its remote control is crazy. So I'm going to switch over to the analysis of the remote control now and show you why I think this television was probably thrown out in the end, because it couldn't be operated with the remote control. Now there are a couple little cosmetic things. There is a anti-glare coating on this thing that's starting to peel off. So the best thing to do would be to just take it off completely with a scrubby pad. And then what you would do with this television is, I don't know, my inclination is to just hang it up somewhere where I would use it only infrequently, or you know, give it to somebody who doesn't have a TV or doesn't have enough TVs, and just basically get it back into service, which I think requires the rehabilitation or purchase of a new remote control. Now this thing can be controlled with the buttons on the side, but most people don't want to do that. They just want to use a remote. So let's have a quick look at how this remote is behaving, and I'll tell you that's why I think this thing that was the final straw that got this thing tossed. Here's the remote control for that Samsung Plasma TV, and I mean, it's gnarly, really kind of gross. I haven't cleaned it at all, and it's kind of yellowed, and it's weird that it's not black. You would think that a black TV would come with a black remote control, but it doesn't. It has a bunch of fancy buttons. It's got modes for television, STB, maybe that's satellite, VCR, cable, and DVD. So those are the inputs that you can select using this mode button. Now that's important to note. It's got an on and off power button, and some other stuff to sort of, you know, who uses any of this stuff anyways? And it's got this little fancy removable lower thing to make the to add even more features. So what happens when you plug or turn this thing on? So let's Now when I picked up the TV there were two remotes, but this one is branded Samsung, so I snagged it because I figured that was the one that it would correspond to, even though it was not the right color. So let's jam in some old batteries, if I can get them in. There's one, and there's another. It doesn't matter if they're not matched, really. And we'll just put this cover back on. Now, I don't know if I told you this, but you can see remotes with a cell phone camera because it sees into this light spectrum. So it allows you to test the batteries. Now, to me, these batteries look absolutely dead. So let's throw them out and put in proper batteries because they are gonzo. And I'll show you why I know that in a sec. Okay. Just gotta come out this way. Hand me a couple of batteries. Thank you. Man, this battery's hard to get out. Let me change out that battery. Okay, well, after a bit of a struggle, I got those batteries out, and here's some brand new batteries I bought from China. Duracell, should work fine. And these are matched and new. So, okay, the batteries are in. Give them a bit of a spin to make sure the contact is a bit scraped up and the energy can flow from the battery to the remote. And what's the top saying? So if we hit the power button, see? So that's working. And we are on. So what was happening with this thing before was if you hit that mode button, if you dared to hit the mode button, now I'm on TV mode, and oh, it was flashing like a crazy thing before. Maybe it was because of the old batteries. So let's give it a try on the TV. See if this remote works. So we're going to try and turn it off. It turns off. And I press the power button again. It turns on. Hey, great. And I can go, let's see, what other modes do I have here? I have TV, VCR, cable, DVD, TV. So let's choose a different input. It says HDMI DHR, right? So let's say source, I think would be the button we want. So let's see what happens. Source, DHR, DHR. Okay, it's not really swapping. Menu. Oh, look at that. So you just clean this thing up and it looks like it's working fine. I'll tell you what happened when I put batteries in before. This just was continually blinking and blinking and blinking. And I figured, oh, okay, the remote's gone crazy. Maybe there's a button that got stuck or something was wrong with it. Because it would just not stop, even though I pulled out. And eventually I hit the reset button down there. And that didn't fix anything. But I guess just pulling out the batteries and letting it power, like dissipate all its power, got it back into its mode. So really the only thing wrong with this television is it's a little beat up and a little old and heavy. So I guess what I'll do is I'll go ahead and clean this screen up, remove all this old anti-glare or whatever that is, and see if I can get the surface of the TV nice and smooth, and then figure out what to do with it, because it's working. And a plasma TV is awfully nice to have if you're watching movies. Now you can watch YouTube on this thing all day long, which might be an interesting way to set it up, just as a YouTube display off of a laptop, let's say, as a secondary display, which I can do with my docking station, and then I have YouTube screen here, because YouTube tends to send over the lowest quality image possible unless you ask for something a bit better. So that's where we are. Let's see what happens after I clean that surface. I'll see you in a bit. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please consider subscribing, giving me a like, and leaving me a comment. I really enjoy making these videos, and I want to know from you how I can make them better. The whole point of these videos is to demonstrate that if I can do something, you can do it too. Well, that's it for now. So long, and remember, keep making.